Well, I heard that the guy's leg or his ankle and something with her foot. They got injured and they'll never walk right again. And that's about all I know about that part of it.
And we are about to watch the parole hearing of a man who loves to drive his vehicle while under the influence. As a matter of fact, he has a long record of doing it, and he was even on a suspended sentence on probation when he had this offense that left two people without the ability to walk again. So you might think or expect that the parole board will take this hearing quite seriously, that they will look to see if there's any semblance of empathy, regret, wanting to improve themselves, to not be a risk to society. Well, if you're expecting any of that, you might be in for a surprise. With that, let's jump in.
Robert Rowe, 328-495.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Robert Rowe, inmate number 328-495. He is serving a sentence of 7 years, execution suspended after 36 months with 5 years probation for 2 counts of assault second with a motor vehicle, 2 counts of illegal operation of a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and illegal operation of motor vehicle under suspension. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of May 26, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is no offender accountability plan for the offender. Mr. Rowe has completed the DUI program Tier 2 and is participating in the change unit and in AANA groups. Mr. Rowe is on the wait list for a 5 to 7 day job assignment. Education needs to be identified and vocational needs to be assessed. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the low range of risk recidivism. Mr. Rowe, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Yes. Why? I know I screwed up, and I'm sorry that I really hurt those people. I said my stupidity, and I have a hard time explaining myself. I'm nervous. I'll do anything I have to do to please the court or the parole or whatever, to do what I have to do to get on with my life. And yeah, I'm lost for words.
Okay. Well, we know that, these hearings do create some nervousness for people.
Yes.
We're going to ask you some questions, and then we're going to deliberate and give you our decision about parole at the end of the hearing. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with the questions. So
Okay.
I heard you say you were sorry. I'm assuming that you know what the police reports say and how the victims were harmed in this case. What do you know about the harm to the victims?
Well, I heard that the guy's leg or his ankle and something with her foot. They got injured and they'll never walk right again. And that's about all I know about that part of it.
Okay. And you pled guilty to this, so you accept responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were using heroin at the time of the accident?
Yeah, waiting about 11 hours earlier that day, yes.
You remember the accident?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I remember waking up and the truck was stopped and I couldn't see the car or anything. And then I must have passed out again. And I just remember the ambulance getting there.
Well, they found your works in the grass outside the car. Do you remember throwing it out of the car?
No, I do not.
Remember telling the officers that you weren't under the influence of anything?
I told them that I used heroin earlier that day. And I told them exactly what happened, conspired before that and everything. I know I didn't lie about anything. I told the truth, blah, blah, blah,
And your license was under suspension. What was it under suspension for?
It was suspended out of California like 20-something years ago for driving under the influence of alcohol.
You have a Connecticut for driving under the influence. Is it Connecticut in
Oh, yeah, that was,
2005?
yes, it was Connecticut. Yes, it was.
Because I don't see anything in California.
No, I'm sorry, it was Connecticut. That's right.
Okay. And was that an accident also?
No, yes, I hit a stone wall. I backed up off stone wall and then I ran and then I pulled off to the side and I tried hiding, but they found me and I just said, I'm guilty of it. Just, I was guilty of driving under the influence. Yes, I didn't resist or anything like that. Told them the whole story.
Okay. So, I listened to, I know you said you were nervous and I heard what you had to say a little bit. And one of the things you said was, I'll do anything I have to do to get on with my life.
Yes.
Can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
Well, I definitely will never use again. I never want to hurt anybody ever again for my stupidity. If I have to do more groups or meetings or whatever parole decides to do, I'll do. I don't have no problem doing whatever I need to do to. Yeah, and my boss said I still have my job and I live with my boss, and he said I got one chance. If he even hears me using about anything or anything like that, I'm getting fired. I won't have a job, a place to live, so I'll be right back in here.
So I'm gonna break that down just a little bit.
Okay.
When you say I'm never going to use and I never want to hurt anyone again, I appreciate that. I think it's a great way to be thinking. It's important to think that way.
Yes.
And if I have to do programs, I will. So let's, whether or not you get paroled today or not, you're going to be doing programs, right? I mean, that's a given.
Yes.
But programs don't work unless you want them to work. Do you want to do programs? Do you think you need to do a program?
Yes, I think I do. I could probably learn a lot more from that. It's not going to go away by itself, and it's a very hard addiction to beat. I gave up drinking 15 years ago. I haven't had a drop since, but I'm the type of person, if I really put my mind to something, I can do it. And I'm just asking for a chance to prove that I can do it and become a productive member of society.
Yeah, we want that for you too.
Yes.
We want you to be productive. We want you to be successful. If you're successful, we're successful, right? Everybody,
yes.
It's a win for everybody. You do well on parole or probation. I like to say nobody gets extra points when the clients fail.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's a win for everybody. I asked that because, when I read the parole officer's report, you said you've had this addiction history for 30 years.
Yes.
So I'm gonna guess on and off, right?
Yes.
That you've probably participated in different types of treatment for different lengths of time.
For the alcohol, yes, but not for the heroin addiction.
No, huh? Why
No.
is that?
I was pretty much functional, I guess you could say, and I thought I didn't have a problem, but I definitely do have a problem. I just would admit it to myself, and now because of my actions, I hurt two people. I can never change that, no matter what I say or do. They got to live with what I did, and I have to live with what I did, and that's the tough part of this whole thing for me is what I did to the people. And the time is hard, but it's harder for me to think about what I did, and that's going to help me stay sober, to stay clean, because I never want to go through that or anybody else to go through that ever again because of what I did.
So okay. So I'm going to break that down some more again. So were you on the methadone program at one time?
Yes, after I was waiting to get on the methadone program before the accident. And they didn't have it in place open until April. And I was there until they raised my bond until I got incarcerated. So I was clean about 6 months before I came in. And then I was still on the methadone program when I was sentenced to Osborne, and I think it was maybe 13 months later, I was coming down slowly and everything. And then by the time I got to Cybulski, I was down to 3 milligrams.
Okay, so I would want to make sure I understand. So the accident happened. By the time you were arrested, it was about 6 months? Or you were
Well,
out
no, it's
on bond?
it was, yeah, I was out on bond. And then it was, probably a year later, I think it was April 19th or something, I got into the program in Danbury. I'm not sure exactly how long was in between, and I have a bad memory.
Okay, so if the accident happened in September, you think it
Yes.
was the following April that you got into the program?
I believe so.
All right, I mean, logic, that would make logic.
Yes,
would
I
be
believe that was
logical.
what it was. Yes.
All right, and then you were sentenced in May.
Yes.
So when you came in its sentence, you
I was
were.
on the program. I was on the
Okay.
program, yes, ma'am.
And you aren't any longer.
I am not anymore. No. And I
And-
haven't. No, go ahead. I haven't felt this good or think this clear in a long, long time. My mental health is a lot better. I'm in a lot better place than I was 2 years ago.
You know, I'm struggling also a little bit with your characterization of being functional. Do you, be honest with me here, do you think any heroin use is a problem or just when it gets out of control?
No, any use of any kind of drug like that's a problem. But I wouldn't admit it to myself right away. I don't know why I did. It took the accident, I guess, to really sink in that I have a problem and I have to do something about it because I don't want to die. I go out there, if I use within a week, I'll be dead. I already know this, and I don't want that. And I don't want to ever hurt anybody ever again because of that.
So if you're 58 years old and you told the parole officer you've had this 30-year addiction, so since you were 28,
Roughly, yes.
and has that been alcohol and heroin?
It was, yes, alcohol was a big part of my life. And one day I just finally got tired and I said, I don't want to drink no more. And I haven't touched a drop since. But I continued in my heroin addiction. So I don't know if I replaced one with the other or, but it's a big problem with me. And I can never use again. If I rerun it.
How are you able to use and still function in the community? Because I mean, for somebody with your history, you know, your criminal record is not outrageous by any means.
I've always worked and made good money. I've never not had a job. And I don't know, I probably put myself in that category that I was functional because I was using and I really never got into any trouble because of it. And that's what I mean by functional for me. But then inevitably it's going to end up me getting in trouble, hurting somebody, which happened. And I understand that now. But before I never admitted to myself that I had an addiction because I was doing everything right. I wasn't getting in trouble. I was working, but I was still using. And that's what I mean by functional.
Okay.
But,
So let's go back to my other question of, do you think you need treatment?
yes, I do.
And what kind of treatment do you think you need?
I don't know. I don't think inpatient will help me because I think I would get more out of it if I was in the society working, doing what I'm supposed to do and doing all at the same time, keeping myself busy. And that would probably help me more than if I went into like an inpatient kind of a thing.
Well,
And where
okay.
Go
ahead.
And where I live, it's kind of hard for me to get around. I live in the woods in Roxbury. And the closest place is about 12 miles away, which would be like MCCA. They're stationed they're out of New Milford. And I've been there before for alcohol, and that helped me somewhat. But whatever parole thinks I should do that's going to benefit me, I'll do that to keep myself from using again, to get out of this addiction. I don't know if I can do it by myself.
Okay. Well, since you've been in, you participated in the DUI program and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Tier 2 program, the change unit, and you're attending AA and NA meetings?
Yes, I did like 30 something meetings since I've been here.
Okay. How often do you go to meetings?
3 times a week.
2 times a week?
3 times. 3 times.
3 times a week. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the DUI and the Tier 2 program, what are some of your takeaways from that you think will stick with you?
That I do have a problem with heroin, and if I do use it again, it's going to be the same thing why I'm here or worse. And I've learned things that I never thought that I had a problem. You know, they identify some things, triggers and all that. Well, you know, and I never needed a reason or a bad day to use. See, me personally, I love getting high. I never needed a bad day or a bad reason or anything to do that. And I didn't really understand that until the Tier 2, because Mrs. B, she was a very good counselor, and she pointed a lot of things out that I didn't see that I do see now.
Can you give me one example?
There are so many. Oh boy.
Because, and I ask that because when you say, that I love to get high, most people say, well, I get high because, I'm depressed, or I broke up with my partner, or,
To not feel sick.
thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if you just love it, if you like it that much, it's going to be that much harder to not fall back into those old habits.
Yes, yes.
So what were you able to discover about yourself that you think will be helpful?
Like I said, I have a hard time explaining. I mean, saying this back in the 80s, I got a brain injury, and my memory is kind of, it pops in and out. But I know if, like I said, if I ever use again, I'm going to end up back in here. I could kill somebody or myself or, oh boy.
Well,
I'm
I
nervous.
do think,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Rowe, I do think that, not wanting to hurt somebody again, realizing, the harm that you've caused, I do think those are deterrents for not wanting to use again. Why was the counselor so good? You said she was a good counselor. Why was she so good?
The way she explained things, I have a hard time, like I said, remembering certain things that she said. Oh boy. No, I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
Okay. What's the change unit?
It's to go in there to change, to listen to the meetings, the groups and all that to get out of why I'm there with my addiction. A lot of the inmates are very, very good. And when we talk about things about, our addiction and what we've done and all that, and that's part of it. I've never did that stuff before. And this is all new to me, and I'm trying to figure it out, step by step. And being a nurse helped me somewhat, realize that I'm not alone out there. There's so many more people like me that are doing the same thing. And it all ends up you either hurt somebody or somebody you love or family, or you end up in here or worse. And I'm just realizing that now. So,
Why is your employer so supportive of you? And to the point where he's gonna let you live there?
I always showed up for work. I've always did a good job. We became friends. I live in this house. I've known I've worked for him for 13 years. I've lived in this house for 5 years. And he believes in me. I don't know why, but he does. And he's given me the opportunity to give me one more chance to do the right thing. Because he doesn't drink, he doesn't believe in drugs, he doesn't believe in none of that stuff. So I think that he deeply cares for me, and I won't let him down when I get out there, because if I do, I'll end up right back in here, and I don't want that. Or to hurt anybody.
You were living there, using drugs, still working. I mean, why would it be any different now?
Because I don't want to end up back in, I don't want to come back to prison with more time, or to hurt somebody, or I'll die. You know, I don't want that.
Okay.
And
You took these programs, so you must have talked about a relapse prevention plan. What happens if you want to pick up again? Do you
Right.
recall that?
yes.
Okay. So what have you formulated for yourself in terms of how you will handle those feelings?
Mm, I can definitely, I can talk to my boss, because he's a lot older. He just turned 80 years old, and I'm lost for words here. Oh boy.
What are your thoughts about getting involved with the NA or the AA community when you're out?
I will do that. I probably need to do that. It's just, it's going to be hard
Will,
for me.
could, need, which is it?
All of them. I definitely need it. I need something to keep me on track. And that'll probably be a good part of my recovery, not to do that again. Because being around people like that all the time will be good for me. I got a hard time doing this.
Well, you go to these meetings 3 times a week.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you go because you like going, because you feel good after you're done going to them, or do you go because you have nothing else to do? And it will
No, I
look
go-
good when you come to today's hearing.
I go with it. I definitely feel better when I talk about my addiction and things that happened because of my addictions over the last 30 years. And just about everybody in the groups, we're pretty much all the same. We've all been through the same thing time and time again because of this addictions that we have. And I'm definitely, I got a much clearer head and thought process about the groups and everything. Because before I don't fit in there. That's not me. I don't have a problem. I don't get in trouble. You know, I don't have to steal or anything like that. So that's where it's hard for me, because like I said, I never thought I had that big of a problem, because everything worked the way it was supposed to work if I wasn't on drugs. So that's going to be a hard part for me, and I'll do whatever it takes. I have to. This is my one shot. If I don't do it this time, it's pretty much over for me, I think, because the addiction it's that powerful.
You know, with your charges and your history, there'll be really no latitude when you're in the community.
Right, I understand that.
And I think you started to say, tell me if I'm wrong, that you think it'll be hard to get to those meetings because of where you live.
Yes, I'd have to get set up with somebody in groups that can drive me there and back, because my boss, he's getting too old. He can't do that.
Right. If he's 80, he can't be driving. But
No.
you can do that, though. You realize that. It's not if I can. You can do that. You can find somebody to give you a ride.
I know.
You have a
Right.
job. you can Uber, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Take some sort of, I know that public transportation is probably not, you
There's
know,
nothing there, nothing there at
Yeah,
all. It's a small
but
town.
there's other avenues, making friends with people from, you know,
Right, that's something that I need to do. And that'll take a little bit of time when, if I do get paroled out there, it's gonna take a little bit. But
no,
I can give
it's
it,
gotta be a priority. See, it'll take a little bit of time. One day turns into a week, turns into 3. And I'm concerned for public safety if you
Yes.
don't have some sort of sober network in the community.
I understand that.
You're,
Yes,
you're,
right.
and you're gonna have to go to treatment, whether you live in Roxbury or New Haven.
Right,
You know, you are going to be required to do some sort of treatment, and you should want to do treatment.
yes,
At 58 years old, you will not make it much further with this lifestyle.
no, you're exactly right. I agree with that 100%.
I mean, you must get someplace to go get the drugs. You must get there somehow.
I drove without a license. That was stupid on my part, and
Yeah,
this is what
but-
happened. And this is what happens in the end because of my stupidity.
Well, it all catches up with you. But I get a sense that you can be a very resourceful person. If you've been using for this long, getting what you need, had the wherewithal to throw the works out the window, I get a sense that if you want to go to meetings and get to treatment, you will make it happen.
Yes.
All right. I do not, you have no disciplinary reports, which is a plus. And you have done some good programs. I'm a little disappointed you're not able to articulate a little bit better about what you've taken from the programs. But I also like the idea, I'd like to hear that you were in treatment prior to being sentenced while you were out on bond. And you seem to be getting there because that's a daily trip.
Yeah, my boss would drive me every morning because
Yeah.
it was
Well,
in the morning. Okay,
Mhm.
go ahead.
There's meetings in the mornings too. Right, so I realize that he's elderly, but you can make it happen. But I am encouraged by the fact that you were sober coming in and had been doing some treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rowe. Ms. Turner?
So, sir, you were living with your sponsor, Mr. Hodges, for the last 5 years? Is that what
Yes,
I heard
ma'am.
you say? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the parole officer hasn't been able to connect with him yet. So we haven't confirmed that he's going to be your sponsor.
Okay, the cell phone number, the work number is probably the best number to get a
Okay.
hold of him.
Right. Okay.
Right.
We can deal with that if and when we need to. So you were using pretty heavily the time before your arrest. So you were hiding it from him?
Yes, he had no idea what I was doing.
Okay. Do you have any people in your life who are living in recovery?
Not at the moment, no.
Do you think there's some value in a support system, a sober network?
Yes, there's definitely. I'm gonna have to get all this going for me after I get out to do the right thing. Like I said, this is all new to me, and I'm just asking for a chance to prove myself that I will get all this stuff done to be a protective member of society, and sober people in my life would be a very good thing for me.
Have you ever done step work?
No, never.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, following the NA book there, where there's 12 steps, I believe.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
worked out. No, I've never done that. No.
Okay. Oftentimes, people in your position will begin step work through the mail to work with a sponsor out in the community and, you know, write out the steps and exchange letters back and forth.
Okay.
But, you know, NA is more than just going to meetings.
No, I understand that.
You know, it's actually working on yourself using the 12 steps to do that work. And I encourage you to look into that and, you know, get started with that.
Okay. I
So
can do that.
in September of 2021, you had the motor vehicle crash.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went on in February of 2022 to have another DUI. And you told my colleague that it, you know, you thought it took the crash to kind of wake you up.
Yes.
When I read the arrest warrant from 2022, the officer detailed that there was no suggestion on your last crash that you attempted to brake or steer to avoid the collision, and that this is your third collision in about a year.
Third, there was only two. There wasn't no, I didn't have three collisions. Oh, yes, there was the other one, yeah. That's what I blew a tire and got caught in a snowbank and I went
Okay.
off the road. And I
So,
wasn't,
so why wasn't the crash in 2022 enough to, you know, get your attention, so to speak? I mean, it's hard to imagine when this was going to end.
I understand that. To be honest, it took, I guess, for me that I hurt them people to wake me up, which you shouldn't have, that should have never
It was
happened.
6 more months. You were still out there driving on a suspended license and using heroin, and then using heroin and driving, which is what got you the 2022 arrest. So, you know, it's all very concerning because we're trying to make a decision about whether you finish the 3 years of the 7 you have to serve out in the community. And we have to do that in light of the interest of public safety.
I understand that. I do.
Okay. All right. You have said a couple of times that you want to be a productive member of society. Can you tell me what that looks like to you? What does that mean?
For me now, like the other lady that I do doing the groups, keeping sober, going to work, coming home, doing what I'm supposed to be doing without using drugs. And like I said, I know if I use again, I'll be dead in a week. I know this already, and I don't want that to happen. And
We don't
like I
want
said,
that to happen either.
I don't want to hurt anybody because of my stupidity. I don't think I can live with that again.
You keep referring to it, as you did in your opening statement, as stupidity, but Mr. Rowe, these are choices that you're making.
Yes.
You know, you can use all the heroin that you can get. It's the fact that you would choose to drive impaired
Yes.
that's the root of the problem. So I'm going to suggest to you that, you know, because you've expressed a lot of remorse for the harm that you caused to the people injured in the crash, that perhaps as a productive member of society, you could look to give back.
Yes.
What would that look like to you, giving back?
Right. Going. I don't even know how to explain that one.
Well, maybe you could give it some thought. But I'm going to suggest to you volunteering is a great way to give back. Help at a food bank. Look to, what is there in your community that needs your support, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or it's, the local Rotary.
Where I live, I don't know if they have that or not, but I imagine the closest town to me would probably be New Milford or like Southbury. And I don't know what they have in those aspects, what you're talking about. I'd have to find out how to
Well,
get
you
in
can,
touch.
yeah, you can do some online searching. You can talk to your probation officer, and if you're granted parole, you can talk to your parole officer. But being productive is more than paying taxes and abiding by the
No, I
law.
know, yes.
It's registering to vote. It's taking an active role in your community. It's helping others. And helping others is a way you can make amends when you can't make amends to the people, in this case, involved in the crash that you directly hurt. I think that can help your self-esteem. You seem extremely discouraged and, just struggling with the demons of addiction. And maybe if you focused outside of yourself, helping others, it could help you in ways you don't even know yet. Have you given any thought to going to a halfway house? Trying to do this on your own 2 feet, getting stable in your community, and then maybe going to your sponsor? Because I hear you using, this sponsor who's, obviously a wonderful and generous person, also as an obstacle to, your recovery, because this remote location is so inconvenient for the work that you need to be doing.
Yes.
We're going to have to stipulate, if you're granted today, a halfway house anyway, because your sponsor hasn't been confirmed. But I encourage you to give it some thought. You're 58 years old. Maybe it's time, with the structure of a halfway house program, that you tried to get your life together in a hopefully supportive community. I have no more questions, Madam Chair. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only 2 things are quick. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So the Northwest Hills, there's things are sparse out there, right?
Yes, yes. I live in a little town. After 6 o'clock, there's nothing open. There's just a little general store. And after that, there's nothing. It's just a ghost town pretty much.
So internet works out there, right?
Yes.
So there's a whole online community when it comes to recovery.
Okay.
And 17 miles away is High Watch.
I was, that's in, I've heard of that before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not sure what town, but I've heard of it.
They have meetings that are broadcast all the time.
Okay.
And there in the facility, there's people that have CCAR, that work for CCAR, that are recovery coaches.
Okay, this is all new to me. The stuff you're telling me, I don't even know that existed.
I know. And the thing is that those recovery coaches know what resources there are in the community.
Okay.
So even as remote as Washington is, right?
Yes.
They would know what's available there, and
Okay.
they help you come up with a plan as to what you want to do out there. And it's incredibly important.
Yes.
When you get out there and it's you and that's it, stuff that triggers addiction, I mean, it's pretty easy,
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that. There's gonna be a lot of temptation without a doubt.
you know? And, you know, the thing is that you need to just put that plan in place, you know?
Yes,
And it's through those online meetings, you can get phone numbers. And see if there's people in the area that can, you know,
that I can, yes, I
need to, and maybe go to area meetings when you need to.
agree with that 100%. Like I said, this is all new to me. I've never been up from a full parole before. I've never did this much time. This is all new to me, and it's scary. And I'm definitely gonna need help, and I'm gonna have to reach out to find these things to help me.
Yeah.
And like things you're saying, I've never heard of before, but now that I know that that's out there, I could definitely use that to help myself, to help be part of these people that can help me to do what I need to do.
So, there's help out there if you search it out.
if you want it.
Oh, I definitely, I have to do something because I can't go on like this. It'll only get worse from here. And I know this, I know what I have to do. And I'm gonna have to just put myself out there and do what you guys are explaining to me. I know I have to do this, but now I do have some tools what you guys are saying for me to get involved in these programs, because I never know they existed, because I never had to do this before in my life. And this is gonna be a big decision on my part to do the right thing, or if not, it'll be a lot worse than what happened this time. I know that's inevitable without a doubt. And this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life right here. This is the hardest thing ever. And I am scared. And I'm just asking for a chance to prove that I know I can do this. I just have to get out there and do it now that I know there's a lot of things that exist that I didn't even know about. And I'm willing to do that, or whatever it takes for me to do that. I have no problems. Everything you guys are saying is 100% true. And I realize that. And like I said,
You're not the only one, you're not the only one in your spot. And you're not the only one that's ever done it before. So, you know, just connect with the help. All right?
I can
Thank
do
you for
that.
answering my questions.
Well, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Pohl. So, Mr. Rowe, we're going to deliberate about your case now, and we'll give you our decision in just a few moments.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, you know, I came in with a big note that Mr. Rowe is a public safety risk, that the charges are, you know, the injuries and his deception early on were concerning. The second DUI. I am encouraged with the programs that he's taken. I wish he could articulate a little bit better what he's gained from the programs. But he has taken all the programs that we would hope that he would take. I think he was very honest when he talked about his drug history and his drug use and why he used. I mean, we don't often hear that I just love to get high. Usually there's an array of, I don't know if that is in his favor or not in terms of his recovery, but it's certainly a starting point. I also like the idea that he's been going to meetings 3 times a week. Something else he has never done before. He's clearly been a functioning addict, substance abuser. His record is not horrific like we typically see. He does score low in terms of risk to recidivate. You know, he has really no support in the community other than his employer that he talks about. but that doesn't mean that he can't develop some support in the community. And I certainly think he's been given a lot of information to make that happen. If we grant parole today, he'd have about 14 months on parole and then 5 years of probation to follow. So I would be willing to give him an opportunity to go on discretionary parole. Ms. Turner?
I appreciate the things that you've just laid out. He has a long road ahead of him.
Yes, he does.
I already hear him putting up roadblocks to his own recovery. And I know he's ambivalent because he knows, that the next time could be the last for everything. I'm just not comfortable with the risk. I go back to his opening statement, that he'll do what he has to do to get on with his life. And someone in his situation, I would have hoped would have come here with a plan and a commitment to his own recovery and relapse prevention. And, it's deeply unfortunate with the drug score of 4 and a 30-year daily heroin addiction that he was afforded just here too. But I can't see my way clear to discretionary parole.
Okay. Mr. Cole?
The order of parole in this case is important. He, in terms of being able to connect with the type of service that he needs, he will could help with that. CCAR is connected directly with parole. I would assume that the office, the region that would handle it's Waterbury or is it Danbury?
I would think Danbury.
Yeah. So, but to have that in place prior to probation, which is going out, and then, and then finding its way rather than reporting directly and being on, appears to be, well, it says minimum supervision, but certainly the parole officer would be connected with him and be seeking to help him go along.
Mm-hmm.
So I would support parole in this case.
Okay. So halfway house, I don't even know if we need to stipulate no alcohol. If you said it's been sober for 15 years. No contact. You want to do no contact with the 2 victims? I'm not sure he'll ever run into them again, but AL and SC. Anything else?
No driving.
No driving. Thank you, Ms. Turner. Okay. All right. And yes or no on the no alcohol? What do you?
That doesn't.
Yeah. So in the matter of Robert Rowe, 328495, there's a motion to grant parole on or after today's date, July 12th, 2024, with the following stipulations. Halfway house placement if necessary, no operation of a motor vehicle without the parole officer's permission, no contact with the victims SC and AL. Do I have a second?
No.
All those in favor? Those opposed? All right, Mr. Rowe, it was a majority vote. So you'll need to really think about how you want your life to go and take advantage of the resources. My thinking is you were able to get out there and get what you wanted in terms of the drugs. You should also be able to get out there and get to meetings, treatment, volunteer at a church,
I can do all
surround
that.
yourself with people who are committed.
I definitely need to do this. Now, you guys told me a lot of things I didn't know about. And like I said, the online thing, whatever, that'll be a big help right there. Because it's gonna be hard for me to get around, and this way I can contact people and start this ball rolling here to do what I have to do.
With the online stuff, you could do multiple meetings in one day. You could do meetings every single day.
I
So
didn't know anything about that. That's a great thing, actually, I think.
Well,
You know?
We are an example of how useful parole and probation can be to you. And that includes when you're starting to feel shaky.
I've been on probation, and that's probably one of the big reasons why I stopped drinking, because of that.
Happy to hear that. You know, and medication is not such a terrible thing. The methadone, Suboxone, they're all, you know, out there for a very good reason.
Yeah, the Suboxone I
don't-
can't do, it makes me sick, but the methadone, that actually worked pretty good.
So you need to figure out what works for you and what will be most beneficial for you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This concludes the hearing for Robert Rowe, inmate number 328-495.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta tell you, I am surprised that they granted. I feel like I was watching insanity happen. Are you kidding me? This man is dangerous. Oh my gosh. You know, usually these parole boards, they are hard. They are tough on those who have DUIs. And that's because it is so easy to connect a vehicular homicide directly to the parole board. And the odds that it will happen are usually quite high. Do you really think this man is going to stop doing what he's been doing basically his entire life? Are you kidding me? This was, and can you even imagine that the parole board member said, should we say no alcohol as a condition? Are you guys nuts? They're nuts. They're all nuts. I mean, I guess we have to give Turner credit for not being nuts because she was the only one, that dissented, right? Wow. I mean, they even asked him, like, what did you learn? He couldn't say a thing. And the parole board's like, well, you know, he wasn't able to articulate it that well or just a little well. It was like, there was nothing. Are you kidding me? And his plan is to go back to live with the man and work for the man who was enabling and allowing this to happen? It's the most insane. I mean, like, we have seen a lot of insane parole hearings. We have seen parole hearings that make you just want to, like, but like, I don't know, like, this isn't even like trauma related. This is just someone who is clearly an addict. Oh, wow. Now, this hearing, it happens 7/12/2024. He was paroled. I'm doing this a year later, June 10th, 2025. I'm going through the spreadsheet that this is before even Lady Holly was here. Sir Richard put together. I'm going through old hearings. But a lot of hearings that Sir Richard noted and I hadn't gotten to. There's a lot of them. We have hundreds of hearings that are going to be coming your way. Now, what's interesting about going through this whole spreadsheet is that a lot of them we have updates for. This one, there is no update for. A lot of them we have revocations for. We have second hearings. This one, there is no update. I did a search. He hasn't killed anyone. As far as I know, he hasn't gotten in trouble, which isn't impossible to believe because, you know, you can go a while, but it's only been a year, right? It's just a matter of time. You know, one might assume that he's been driving under the influence. At least we have it on his 2005, his record that they pulled up. And he said he had one out of California too, which then he played off when they're like, no, it was in Connecticut. And then he's like, oh, yeah. Like, they didn't dig further. He volunteered that information. And as soon as they didn't pursue it, it was like it never happened. I wonder how many states and different records he has. And that article, this is what happened there. It was that he was 38 at the time. He was additionally charged with operating with this. So I'll just read to you. Police charged driver with DUI. This is in February 2nd, 2005. This is what they were talking about. Charged with operating with a suspended license, operating a vehicle without insurance, evading responsibility, operating an unregistered motor vehicle, and making an unsafe turn. After the crash, police say that he went into the woods. After saying he was going to call the police, police found him sleeping behind a barn. They never have insurance. Of course not. They never have, right? And you hear about the victims that they can't walk ever again. And you might say, well, where are they? Why are they not at this parole hearing? And you know what? I am willing to bet that they were not notified, because we have seen time and time again where they are not notified. We have seen hearings where a second hearing happens where the victims get up and say, we were never notified about the hearing. And to think that in, what was it, 2022, he's arrested, sentenced to 6 months jail. 9/10/2021, he has the vehicle, assault with a vehicle, sentenced 4 years jail. So in 2021, he sentenced to 4 years jail, suspended after 18 months, probation 5 years. And then that wasn't enough. Just a short time later, 8/24/2022, he gets illegal operation with a motor vehicle. And that, my understanding is that that's why he has the 2 counts, right? So he severely injures some. This is my understanding from the information that Sir Richard has here. Someone will never walk again. Maybe 2 people will never walk again. They go into this as if there's really no victims. He doesn't talk about it. He shows no empathy. The parole board seems to show no empathy. This hearing was shocking. Is it just me? Are you not shocked as well? 9/10/2021, illegal operation of a motor vehicle. I'm just reading from the reason I'm not screen sharing it. It's just like the chart here that Sir Richard has. And then, right, so assault second with a motor vehicle. He gets a suspended sentence, and it was less than a year later where he gets pulled over again under the influence. So then he has to serve this sentence. He's sentenced on May 8th of 2023 to 36 months. After he already gets a gift from the court, he's sentenced to 36 months. He is released. Really, like, his parole hearing is 7/12/2024. So you might say he had time served, which is why but it's really a slap on the wrist. He learns nothing of course he learns nothing as parole. I mean, what do you expect? Like as if that would make a difference anyways. Why did he earn parole? This should have been a clear no. And also horrible sentencing by the judge. The judge giving such a light sentence after he brutally he destroys people's lives. They will never walk again. And all he gets is 36 months. Keep in mind, he got a gift. These sentences never make sense. Let me share my screen so you can see the insane. Maybe you just need to see the visual of this. Because sentencing has always been a gimmick. Here's why it's a gimmick. I can't with this insanity. So, look, 9/10/2021, he gets the assault second degree. He's sentenced to 4 years, but he only has to serve 18 months, probation 5. He obviously doesn't do 18 months because it's on 8/24/2022, which he gets illegal operation of a motor vehicle under the influence. So I don't even know if he served time. Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? This is 11 months later. So he serves a snippet of the 18 months. He gets busted again, and he gets sentenced to just 6 months jail. But then I guess because of the suspended sentence, he gets 36 months. What kind of sentence is that? People will not walk again. He is clear danger. He has enough chances. This isn't about being mean. This isn't even about rehabilitation. This is about protecting the public. You can't rehabilitate someone who's been this way their entire life. Is it just me? I don't think I'm being, I think the mistake for sure is with the sentencing, even before the parole. They say, okay, maybe we want him under some supervision. Why is there not I don't know. It was, the crazy thing is he was under supervision when he did this offense. And that's when he got caught. How many times do you think he did it before he got caught? But always what's alarming to me is how there is no empathy. Imagine you crash into someone, you're at fault. I doubt he had insurance, and those people cannot walk again. I know that their trauma, their lives being altered, it deserved about 4 seconds of this parole hearing, but it deserves much more than that. And he can't even talk about it, can't even apologize for it in openings, nothing. You wouldn't believe it. But there you have it. I bet we see him soon. With that, I'll let you go.
Love to get high. Most people say, well, I get high because, I'm depressed, or I broke up with my partner, or,
To not feel sick.
thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if you just love it, if you like it that much, it's going to be that much harder to not fall back into those old habits.
Yes, yes.
So what were you able to discover about yourself that you think will be helpful?
Like I said, I have a hard time explaining. I mean, same issue back in the 80s, I got a brain injury, and my memory is kind of, it pops in and out. But I know if, like I said, if I ever use again, I'm gonna end up back in here. I could kill somebody